Hi, good morning. I'm going to run through the individual permit application and some of the new items in that and the modules. So as Vince indicated, there is now a separate application for individual permits. It's not combined with the NOI anymore. So I think most of you have, we've been in this for almost a year now. Most of you have seen this form and used it. Some of the big changes in it are some of the applicant information has been removed from this form. So run through the checklist here of what needs to be submitted. These are the forms with signatures. We need one original and one copy. We do need the wet signature on the application, the GIF, General Information Form, and the PNDI. So as I mentioned, with some of the applicant contact info being removed from the individual permit application, it is very important that we get the GIF because that is the only place that we can have the contact info. And then we need 2 copies of the county notification form and the municipal notification form. These forms are specific. They're listed on the application, the form number. Make sure you're using those forms. We cannot accept that letter that we used to get. So, and we need the proof of receipt. So that can be, multiple ways. If you do it certified and have that confirmation online that it's been delivered, you can send that to us. If you get the green card back, that obviously works. Or if they fill out the form, then we don't need that proof of receipt. And then we need any PNDI clearance letters and any PHMCs if clearance letters if you're over 10 acres of earth disturbance. So then the checklist is calling for 3 copies of the drawings and all that stuff. At this point, when you first submit, our office would prefer only 1 copy of everything. At this point, DEP is not taking any paper copies of anything. So 1 copy when you submit is fine. And then when we're ready to authorize, DEP will reach out to you as the consultant to get an electronic copy of the plans. And we'll work with you to get the copies we need at the end. So the test results, the geotech and infiltration testing results must be submitted if you're proposing an infiltration BMP. And then we also would need the module 3, the Antidag analysis, and if needed, the riparian buffer module. So the GIF, this was updated in August. Please try to make sure you're using the latest version. I think all the information is the same, just a little different in the layout and how they're collecting it. So again, this is the only place that we're going to get the contact information for the applicant. So make sure you remember to submit the GIF. So back onto the application itself, some of the things changed at the, in the heading, and we now, instead of the box up at the top, have this section for our internal use where we'll record the permit number and things like that. With an individual permit, it is still a 5-year permit versus the general, having that common expiration date of December 7th, 24. So this is a little different here with the issuance and the effective date. So the issuance date is going to be whenever a determination is made. The effective date will be the first day of the following month. It's pretty simple. So if we make a determination on a permit today. It will not be effective until November 1st. So, and then the expiration date would be according. So there's also changes to the bulletin notice and how they're doing that for an individual permit. So after we do the tech review and we make a tentative decision, then DEP will issue a dual notice. That notice will acknowledge or post that we received a complete application and that a tentative decision is made. So that then 30 days after that, they will do another notice stating a final decision. So those are the three required public notices for an individual NPDES permit. So site restoration projects here, as you're filling this out, number 6, is only for the entire site. You know, we deal with a lot of part of the site, 20-acre site, 5 acres is going to be restoration. That's fine. Do not check this box for this. This is the entire site. If you are handling, 5 or whatever acres of restoration, that should be stated somewhere in the narrative. And as you run through your spreadsheets and things like that, you can remove that acreage out. Just tell us why the LOD listed in the NOI is not the same LOD you're using for your stormwater analysis. So they still talk about phases. This is not a phased permit. There are no more phased permits. Hopefully we'll get rid of the lingering ones soon. But this is just about staging of a larger project. The question about hydric soils and other wetland features. Remember, this also includes hydric inclusions. So keep that in mind. If there are, hydric or hydric inclusions, you're going to want to check yes here and submit a wetland determination. What we want to see for the wetland determination is we want to have information about who did the determination, how it was done, what the determination was, and at least one wetland data sheet, like the Army Corps wetland data sheet. We need one of those. So that is what the minimum wetland determination would be. List any existing permits for the site or that are pending, typically within the last 5 years. And these are only environmental permits. We don't care about other non-environmental permits. So discharges to impaired waters. If you are discharging to an impaired water and indicating yes here, you must submit module 3, even if it's not in an HQ or an EV watershed. This TMDL, is there an EPA approved TMDL for the impaired water? This is for the local watershed, not for the bay. We know we have a TMDL for the bay, but this question here is about the local watershed. And then waste load allocation. This will always be no here in Cumberland. We don't have any yet. So just be checking no there for projects here in Cumberland County. All right, so module 1. This is the ENS module. This is this with the supplemental information takes place of the narrative. So we've been getting a lot of questions about what this depth of soil is. And this is typically from the typical profile info on the soil report or from your test pit. Just kind of what is the depth of the soil that you're seeing. Again, hydric inclusions are considered hydric soils. So keep that in mind. If there are hydric inclusions listed in the soil information, you're going to want to check that it's hydric. And then here, we had a lot of discussion here in the office about some of these sections where it says discuss or describe, things that are on the plan sheets. And we've come to the conclusion that because these sheets are the ones that go to DEP and is the only place they're going to get it, you know, now we're back on generals and individuals for this module. We really want the narrative discussion to be here. You could copy and paste the soil limitations and just stick them here. This form, if you're filling it in the fillable form, we'll just expand and accommodate that. We don't want to see C sheet, whatever. I guess we do have a little more flexibility here on module 1 than we do on module 2. Module 2 is more replacing the old Appendix D worksheet. So it is the summary of the stormwater management. So module 2, we really want to be spelling things out. So again, hydric soils. Well, here's where I had that. I knew I had what it written out. So the determination, again, it should be a narrative identifying who did it, how it was done, what the findings were, and at least one wetland data sheet. So this box here is just identifying the BMPs, and here you are gonna identify which plan sheets it's on. Remember, here in Cumberland County, because we're in the Bay watershed, all BMPs, E&S BMPs need to be ABAC. So like your rock construction entrance, you're going to want to note 100 foot, you know, in non-special protections. So keep that in mind, making everything ABAC. Table 1 is for PAG01 applicants only. We do not have any information on PAG01 or when that's coming out. I think, you know, a lot of things caused that to get put on hold for now. Again, this is for PAG01 applicants only, so you leave that blank. These two, 6 and 7, are really meant to be check one or the other. Either you're using the worksheets or you're not using the worksheets and you're doing other calculations and providing that. So really only one of these should be checked. And again, 9 and 11 are for PAG01 only. So you would be checking 10 because we do need supporting calculations attached. And the plan drawings, number 12, do need to be submitted. And they finally defined a measurable storm event. They have said at least 1/4 of an inch. So here's kind of some of the other ones where we're talking about identify 14 and 15. Here, they're specifically wanting that information to just list what plan sheet that is identified on. But 16, 17, and 18 should be in a narrative form, not a refer to sheet, whatever. Don't forget here in Cumberland County, karst formations. We do have a lot of it here, and you want to be identifying those as a geologic formation that could cause pollution. And this 18, remember there in module 1, this is during construction. In module 2, it is after construction. Another change, you no longer have, you know, the PE doesn't have to sign off on this. You would check here that you are either trained and experienced in E&S or that you're a licensed professional and fill out the information and sign it. So module 2. The discharge points, we want them to be listed as 001, 002. This then is to be consistent with the spreadsheet. Same thing with the number, BMP ID numbers. We want them listed the same way they're listed in the spreadsheet, so we can correlate from this to the spreadsheet. The BMP name, again, keep it the same as in the spreadsheet. If it's in series, you would just, infiltration basin 1 in series with infiltration basin 2, or however you want to say that. But we want to kind of know there if it's in series or not. This is pretty simple. It's just the BMP number from the manual. And then the drainage area to that BMP from within the LOD. I know for rate, we got to look at it kind of overall outside of the LOD, but most of this that we're looking at when we're dealing with the volume management is only from the LOD. Don't forget about your undetained areas at the bottom of that. A lot of these sites do have some undetained, and that will be carried over into the spreadsheet then. Again, this site restoration, it does discuss about it being the entire site. Again, like I said, if it's a portion of the site, it's site restoration, do not check this box. Discuss somewhere in a narrative form what's going on and why that acreage within the LOD is being removed from calculations. The sequence here, this is kind of what I was getting at. This is the only place DEP is going to know when these PCSM BMPs are going in relation to the rest of the schedule. So provide a narrative description here or copy and paste the actual sequence. Again, we do not want to see refer to sheet, whatever. Now the recycling and proper disposal here for number 5 associated with PCSM BMPs are addressed. This is any wastes that may come from the maintenance of the BMPs, not construction waste or anything like that. It is if they have to go in and do some form of maintenance, like if you have a water quality filter on site and they clean that filter out, what do they do with the waste? The stormwater analysis in module 2, the runoff volume. Number 1 there, the first 3 are what standard are you using to design to? You cannot check number 1 in Cumberland County. Ours is out of date. I don't know that we're going to work on that, getting that back in date. 2 is the one you're going to check most of the time. If you are using an alternative design, if it is not an approved alternative, it will need to go to central office for review. So if you do use the spreadsheet, you'll check this box, and then you can skip numbers 5 through 9. You can just leave those blank. However, if you don't use the spreadsheet, you're going to need to provide 5 through 9, and all your supporting calculations should be attached. Volume routed to the BMP, again, there should be from the drainage area within the LOD, not outside. Your infiltration testing information, we need to know the number of tests if you're proposing an infiltration BMP. And we also want those actual test results attached. Discuss the method used for infiltration testing. PERT tests and the conversion are no longer accepted. We need to be using some sort of actual infiltration test. And don't forget your factor of safety. You must apply one. The rate analysis. Again, our Act 167 plan has not been approved by DEP within the last 5 years, so it is out of date and you cannot design to that standard. So again, box 4, if you're using the spreadsheet, check this box, and then you don't have to fill out 5 through 9. If you are not using the spreadsheet, you need to run through these here and provide the supporting documentation. So number 7, this section here is your discharge rates without BMPs. And then number 9 is with the BMPs. 8 kind of identifies the functionality of the BMP, you know, what they're actually doing. And then you must use the water quality spreadsheet. There's no other way to do it. So it's kind of hard. You can't use the water quality section on the spreadsheet without filling out almost the rest of it. So sometimes using the spreadsheet is the easiest way. There's been a lot of changes to the spreadsheet over the past year, and it is getting much better. Again, here with the long-term operation and maintenance, we really want this written out. Not the BMP ID should match the earlier on in the sheets in the module, and then we want a narrative of the O&M, and you can copy and paste that right from the drawings. Module 3, I guess I should say again here, you know, depending on the scope of the project, you don't necessarily have to be licensed if there's no structural BMPs. So, you know, you have that. I am trained and experienced in PCSM methods. The Antidag analysis, module 3. Some things we see on this one, it's very similar to the information we got in the old section of the NOI. But one thing, even in the old one, a lot of people would forget, if you're not using a non-discharge alternative, you need to explain why not. You know, why are you not doing these items? This section here are the BMPs. You can now just check them. It does help. You can use this section if you don't want to read through the manual to find out what ENS BMPs are considered ABAC, and, you know, select off this list. Again, we want to see how a narrative description here of how it's all going to work together and manage the change during the earth disturbance activities. And now on the PCSM side of the Antidag, we want, again, if you're not doing the non-discharge alternative, we want you to explain why. And the list of the ABAC BMPs are again provided for PCSM BMPs. And here on this one, oh, all right. Again, we need to explain how they're going to work together in a narrative form to manage the change. This is now after the earth disturbance activities. The certification, module 3 needs to be signed by the applicant. Module 1 and 2 get signed by the consultant, and module 3 gets signed by the applicant. All right, module 4, riparian buffer module. You will check which permit you're using or applying for, the individual NPDES permit or the erosion and sediment control permit. So the earth disturbance, will the earth disturbance occur within 150 feet? That is not the permit boundary. This is asking about, number one is asking earth disturbance within 150 feet. And that is the designated use of high quality or exceptional value. There is a difference in how these are being looked at. So if you are seeking a waiver to the riparian buffer requirement here, just to note that is only available for ENS permits, not for individual NPDES permits. Number two is asking about the overall project site. So that would be your permit boundary within 150 feet, where it has a designated use of high quality or exceptional value, and where it is not being obtained, where it is impaired. So first one is earth disturbance within a designated high quality or EB stream within the 150 feet, and that is impaired or not. The other one is permit boundary within 150 feet of HQ or EB, where that stream is impaired. If you say yes to number two, you need to implement a buffer or do the equivalency. Again, if the waiver is only eligible for or available to ENS permits. So they provide discussion of how to, work through the equivalency demonstration. We're using worksheets 12 and 13 and 14 and 15, like you used to do, is an appropriate way to do this, and attach those documentations to this module. So now if you're going to do the offset, the project waters and the location where you're going to do the offset buffer, they need to be in the same Chapter 93 drainage list. So they need to be in the same watershed, basically. And you need to provide proof that you have the permission to implement the new riparian buffer. So some agreement with the landowner that proves that you have the legal authority to do it. Waiver information, as we talked, this is only for ENS permits. This would not be eligible for NPDES permits. And module 4 needs to be signed by the applicant, not by the consultant. So again, modules 1 and 2 are signed by the applicant. Modules 3 and 4, modules 1 and 2 signed by the consultant. Modules 3 and 4 signed by the applicant. All right, so we're gonna take a little break here. When we get back, we're gonna dig into the spreadsheet. Like I said earlier, there have been a lot of versions to the spreadsheet. The latest one is 1.7. It mainly made some changes lately on how the MRC is evaluated for water quality and moves through the spreadsheets from the volume tab over into water quality. 1.7 is working pretty good. It does in series rather well. And, I think if you can, this is the one you should be using. Our guidance is that we are to accept 1.6 or later only. So keep that in mind. Also, be checking DEP's website regularly, their construction stormwater website, and, taking a look at some of these forms. They're not always telling us when they update things. Like the new GIF, we just happened to find and realize that there was a new revision date. Same thing as these spreadsheets come out. They're not emailing that information to us. We're finding it, or one of you guys is telling us that it's there. So be checking that website often. Thank you.